Hi, I'm Trevor.
And I'm Kyle. And today, Trevor caught up on 28 Days Later from 2002, directed by Danny Boyle, who also did The Beach and Train Spotting, two of my favorite movies. Train Spotting is pretty understandable if you've seen it. Like, yeah, that's a good one. The Beach, you're like, really? The Beach? Like, okay.
Yeah, like what little I know of the beach, and I mean, I was alive to see the promotion of the movie.
I
But
was too.
bear in mind, this is what barely teenage Trevor watching Leonardo DiCaprio post Titanic on
Hmm.
commercials with picturesque beaches. As a young hetero male, you were kind of programmed to hate him at a certain point in
Exactly. You
time.
were.
Yeah. But yeah, from what little I know of the movie, it's like, really? The beach? That's a good one?
It has, oh, who's that Scottish dude? He's in Train Spotting as well. I can never remember
Oh,
his name.
Robert Carlyle?
Robert Carlyle.
He's a
He's actually
chameleon. Like, he
he's
can do
actually
anything.
he can. He's actually in the second, the 28 weeks later, I guess it is. Um,
Oh, really?
he is a piece of shit in that. He plays a piece of shit pretty well. Um,
Well, he's very versatile. I like him for that reason. He can do pretty much anything you ask him to.
so yeah, the reason I had Trevor watch this, we did versus I think we dropped that a week or two ago, not too
Yeah.
terribly long ago, which was along the lines of a Japanese zombie film, quote unquote. And this is a British quote unquote zombie film. I think that it is the best of the zombie movies from this late '90s, early 2000s surge of zombie movies. Were there any zombie movies in the '90s, or did it come straight in the
Uh,
2000s?
in the 90s, I mean, there was like a remake of the original Night of the Living Dead. It was directed by Tom Savini.
Hmm.
And then the Return of the Living Dead series, I think, carried on through the 90s, but its profile dropped significantly
Hmm.
following the second one, to the point that I'm not even sure if the third one came out in theaters. Um, yeah,
I
zombies
actually
in the 90s were kind of
it wasn't there
not
yet.
they weren't like as ubiquitous as they are now, for sure.
Hmm.
And then the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead remake, I think, was around the same time as 28 Days Later, like 2004 maybe.
I liked it at the time. It's I think it's a dark comedy personally. I liked it at the time, but if I was to go back and watch it now, I seriously doubt I would enjoy it. Ty Burrell, the dad from Modern Family, he's great in there. But yeah, I think that it's probably more rewatchable than this one because this one's pretty heavy for a zombie movie.
Yeah, I would agree. It's pretty heavy, but zombie movies, the thing about them is that a lot of times, I mean, it's a thing with horror movies. Like, a lot of times they're heavily based in tropes, and this one breaks the mold in a lot of ways, which is why it's so important for its time.
Mhm.
Like, the way I described it last night when you asked me to watch it was it's a game changing horror movie, because really
Mhm.
zombies didn't move like this for the most part until this movie,
Mhm.
and they would continue to move like this for quite some time following it. Um, but tropes are highly prevalent in zombie movies, especially, and you can't help but get the sense that you're constantly watching the same story over and over and over again sometimes, where
Well,
it's like every time there's a happy moment in a zombie movie, it's like, oh, this is just setting us up for something really shitty to happen a few minutes later.
I like what I liked about Versus, but they were using zombies, but how you were infected had nothing to do with being past bodily fluid like blood or bite. It was you were on the ground. That's how you were becoming a zombie. And if you were killed while on that ground, you became a zombie. Here, the virus, and I read about this on IMDb that the virus actually carries more like Ebola, and it's supposed to be called anger. And then instead of the virus, it's just an extreme version of anger. I
They
didn't
call it rage in the
rage.
film.
Is that what it
Um,
was?
yeah, they call it rage, and that's actually a very big difference. That it's kind of funny because this came out 2002, 2003. This is a post Resident Evil zombie movie.
It
Resident
is.
Evil, as in both the game franchise and I think maybe even the first movie. I'm not
Yeah, the
positive on
first
that.
movie. That maybe that's the first of the zombie movies. I want to say that Resident Evil, the zombie movie, either was 2000 on the nose or 99. I'll
Well,
actually look it up real quick.
either way, like one of the big elements of the Resident Evil franchise is that the zombies in it are created via a virus. It's purely biological. Whereas like the Romero zombie movies, it's never really made clear exactly what causes it, but it's hinted that some sort of like cosmic event or radiation that's causing the dead to return to life. And in Versus, it's supernatural.
Yes.
Much like Evil Dead, where it's like demons and shit. So this one is like maybe the first example I can think of. Return of the Living Dead a little bit, where there's a chemical agent that revives the dead and keeps them alive.
Yeah.
But this is like one of the few examples of its day where the zombies are created via a contagion of some sort.
I was wrong. Resident Evil came out the same year, 2002. But the source material...
There are some similarities, especially aesthetically speaking.
Well, the source material for Resident Evil definitely came before 28 days later, but the movies were released the same year. So, all right. Well, I'll give a rundown of the plot real quick, I suppose.
Yeah, go for it.
So Cillian, right? Cillian Murphy.
I say it's Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy. He is in a hospital bed. I'm sorry. Yeah. So there's a group of chimpanzees that are released that have some kind of virus. In this case, they bite one of the protesters or
activists of some sort.
Not FEMA. PETA. Sorry,
PETA.
PETA. There we go. FEMA. Like that's not right. PETA. They release a chimpanzee. All hell breaks loose. While all hell is breaking loose, Cillian Murphy's basically in a coma, more or less. He's in a bed and he wakes up, and all of London downtown is just barren. Like there's nobody out, and he's piecing it all together. He winds up meeting up with a couple of people who have survived this, and they are just trying to get to a safe place. And they pick up a few people along the way. Pretty much the zombie trope. We got to get out of here to the safe zone. I think that every Resident Evil movie has that nearly, except for the first one.
Yeah, I mean, same with the franchise, like the games, where like the first game is isolated in a mansion, whereas the following games in the series expands to like an entire city, and then like it turns into like a global event type situation. Then it gets increasingly more ridiculous to the point of stupidity, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, our movie starts with a disorienting macro shot of we pull back from it, so it's revealed that it's just a close-up of a actual like monitor, but it's like a CRT monitor with scan lines. So like the first image in the whole fucking movie is just scan lines, like as big as a cat. And then we pull back and we get this poor chimp strapped to a table with a bunch of monitors facing him, and they're all playing like scenes of riots and horrible violence. And I'm sorry, but I couldn't help but be reminded of Street Fighter,
really?
The Blanca Chamber, like flashing the the scenes of violence to make the perfect soldier who's in the movie for 30 seconds. But yeah, it also made me think of the Lawnmower Man. Have you seen that?
No, I have not seen that one.
It's Pierce Brosnan and Jeff Fahey. It has really bad CGI that I watch this movie a lot. But the opening of the Lawnmower Man involves a chimp with a VR helmet that makes him look like he just escaped from the Weapon X program. And like it makes his world look like a video game, so he's like running around Batmaning people trying to escape from a facility. Anyway,
I'm sorry. Speaking of X-Men, anytime I hear the name Charles, I have to repeat it as Ian McKellen as Magneto. Charles.
Charles.
Yeah, it's infectious.
We are the future, Charles.
Charles.
We are the future, Charles, not them.
Not them.
Anyway, then we get some activists. Like, they break into this lab, and I think we get a shot of says like Cambridge Primate Research Center or something. And these folks, they start like working to break these chimps out of their cages, and then when they're in the midst of breaking, Monitor Chimp out of his cell, a scientist walks in, and he just kind of like has a coffee cup, and he's just like,
Yeah.
And I swear I didn't bother to look him up yet. I think I will after we're done recording. I think this was the same guy, the train conductor from Mission Impossible.
The original one?
In the tube. Yeah, I'm almost positive he's the guy that's yelling on the phone when the helicopter is chasing them through the tunnel.
It might be. I haven't seen the first one in so long.
He looks a little bit like skinny Raul Julia.
Yeah.
But like very, very, very British with British teeth. Anyway, he starts expositing. Like he starts dumping exposition about these you can't break these chimps out because they got problems. They're infected. They have something called rage.
Okay, so yeah, first things first. I'm all for animal liberation. Like, let's get the chimps out of the let's get them out of the labs, but don't be there when you release a chimpanzee.
Yeah.
That is bananas. They won't even let chimps, I think chimps past the age of 7 or 8, they won't let them in movies because they're super irritable at that point.
No, if you value your face, you will not be in that room when that chimp is freed.
Yeah, these activists deserve what's coming to them.
Yes, absolutely. And it's pretty well set up too, because the way they handle his intrusion is piss poor.
Yeah.
Like he straight up tells them, like, if I'm sorry, any rational person, you hear the word infected, I don't want to be anywhere near that.
Get me the fuck out.
Yeah, you leave.
Yeah.
If you see a fuzzy animal that is infected, oh yeah, and whatever it's infected with can be transmitted via saliva and the blood, get the fuck out of there. Like, I don't there's a quote in this movie that comes up, keep away from me. That is exactly the thought you have in your head when the word infected gets tossed out there.
Disgusting. I don't want to be next to somebody who has the fucking flu, let alone a chimpanzee that's got something.
Fuck that. But they don't listen to him, of course, because otherwise we wouldn't have a movie.
No.
And things wouldn't happen 28 days later. And but he does actually like explicitly say, like, they have rage. It is transmitted via saliva and blood. Sure enough, they free Monitor Chimp, and he's pissed off because he doesn't get to watch his stories anymore. He doesn't get to see how that riot ends. And he jumps on the one lady. He starts biting her. I think he pukes on her face.
Yeah, more or less.
So that's saliva bite and blood vomit.
And
then very quickly, she vomits on her friend. So that's blood vomit on his face.
I think that's what helps keep it that makes it a little scarier too, is like zombie trope, like you get bit by the zombie, you become a zombie. Here it's like you can get bit, or you can just have bodily fluids passed. Like, it doesn't matter, like a little spit, a little blood, if it just gets in you, you're done.
Well, the most powerful innovation I think that this movie brought to the table is speed. Not just movement speed. That I mean, we'd kind of seen zombies shamble around pretty quickly before. This is the first time I can recall seeing them run, but the speed of infection. Mm-hmm. Wow, that was innovative, and it does up the ante quite a bit.
Yeah.
Where it's like, as soon as the event happens, it's not like a Romero zombie movie where it's like, oh, if you chop off your arm, you can cut off the infection there, or you get a couple of days before it sets in. It's like, no, as soon as it happens, you got to do something about it because you aren't going to have time to react.
Well, I'm going to compare it to like Dawn of the Dead, where somebody gets bit. They're like, oh man, this sucks. No, I'm going to stay behind. You guys go ahead because I'm going to get infected. In this movie, Naomie Harris, like the second she figures out that her partner is infected, she wastes no time and dispatches him from this planet.
Yeah, and
I mean, it is bam, bam. It's
she doesn't even like pay any mind to like doing it cleanly or quickly. It's just kind of like, we gotta go.
and she's she's a survivor. I mean,
it's funny because when that scene happened, and this is jumping ahead a little bit, like I thought she was trying to save him by doing the thing where you cut off the infection, because we do get a shot of his arm coming off around the part where he was bit or cut. But no, she just bashes his face in.
I think that was on purpose. But yeah, good eye on that one. I noticed that too, but I was just like, oh, they was just them messing with me. making you think that she was going to try to save him. But no, she's wasting no time. So do we get, is there a credit sequence? I kind of...
It's a black screen, and the bottom right, it just says 28 days later. And it serves as both a title and a transition. So that's kind of cute. And then we get Cock. We get Mancock.
Actually, Cillian Murphy insisted on this being a closed set. It was just him and a cameraman. That was it. He insisted on that. Always brave. I mean, do it for the story, man. Show your dick.
You mean Viggo Mortensen wins? I'm sorry. Like all you guys who've shown the cock, Viggo got you.
I think he does it also in Captain Fantastic.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that movie.
Apparently, that Chris Pine movie, they had to remove some of his cock because apparently, like all the buzz surrounding the movie was just about Chris Pine's cock. It's like Warrior King or whatever. It's about
really?
Robert the Bruce. It's on Netflix or something.
I'm not gonna watch it.
You don't want to see Chris Pine's cock?
No, I don't. I don't really care for him as an actor.
But does your girlfriend?
I'm sure she does. She's more of a...
most ladies seem to... He seems to work for them, you know?
Which one's Thor? She likes Aquaman and Thor. Those are her two big ones.
She likes Jason Momoa and Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody does. Jason Momoa's not the best actor, but Hawaii represent.
Jim, who is Cillian Murphy, he kind of composes himself. He walks to the hospital. You see that nobody's there. He beelines it to a Coke machine and just chugs a Pepsi.
Very
Pepsi
important.
Machine.
Pepsi got paid.
Pepsi machine and chugs a Pepsi. Chugs a Pepsi. I rewatching this now. I'm like, I had one time. I don't know why I did this, but there was one specific day. The Gatorade or Powerade machine wasn't working at my high school, and we had a little bit of time before we were going to a wrestling meet, and I was super hungry and thirsty. Hadn't eaten in a couple days, so I bought an orange Fanta, and that was going to be, because I didn't have any food or water, so I just grabbed that, and I chugged that after weigh-ins. I puked after my first match. It was awful. Like, that was the worst feeling I've ever had was after that. And I was like, what was going on in my mind? I was just that thirsty. Like, I hadn't drank anything. So him chugging the Pepsi, I'm like, oh, God, he's got to be thirsty. That's rough. Because he's probably been in that... How long has he been in that hospital bed, not drinking water, not having any fluids?
I mean, I don't know how long he was without fluids, because if there were still people working at the hospital, they would be changing his IVs and stuff. But, I mean, 28 days later... I'd imagine he went several days without anything.
Well, I mean, the infection happened. Like, the one person got infected, so it probably took a couple of weeks for it to really negatively impact. So I'm going to say he went about 14 days without a fresh IV. I'll guess.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, this whole sequence in the hospital, and for the next several minutes, in fact, is just... I think part of London.
Yeah.
He's just wandering the streets. It's a complete ghost town. I brought up the Resident Evil movie because the last shot of that first movie is, a destroyed, like completely empty ghost town city, and Mila Jovovich like walking out from a hospital, like an underground bunker, and kind of reminded me of that. But more than that, reminded me of the Omega Man. Have you heard of that?
Seen that one.
It's a Charlton Heston movie. It's based on that I Am Legend book.
Oh, really?
It's an even looser adaptation than
the
I
Will
think
Smith
any of the
one?
others.
Oh.
Anyway, Omega Man had these scenes early in the movie where it's supposed to be he's the last man, and I think it was in San Francisco, and they like shot it super early in the morning on Sundays. And they did a good job with these London scenes because
these are all on location.
They're on location, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah, I believe they did something similar. I think they were doing it on match days, maybe. The other thing I believe I read for this was that they had attractive women tell people. Oh, I think they did some at the wee hours of the morning, so they told people that were in club. They had attractive women tell the drivers like, "Hey, you're gonna have to go a different route. Sorry," but yeah, I think this is probably one of the most impressive on location shots I've seen where it is apocalypse.
Yeah, no, they do a very good job of creating a lonely atmosphere in a very large metropolitan area,
Very much.
with no money and no time, and it speaks to the power of digital equipment. Because I mean, this is early 2000s. The digital revolution is starting to creep into like mainstream cinema, and just like the infection and the way the zombies work in this movie, digital provides you with speed. Setting up like a 35 millimeter camera rig with like audio and everything and lighting, it takes forever. Like that can take your whole day just to set up a single shot. But if you're just like zipping around with digital cameras and stuff, you can set up a shot in minutes. and a lot of this movie does feel like it's like, we got to hustle. And from what I read, I read about the attractive women being used to divert traffic. But even with that, as far as I understand, they still only had like an hour every day of shooting because it was like at 4 a.m.
It's impressive. It reminds me of Ricky Jay and Boogie Nights, where it's like, we just keep taping because they're switching over from the 8mm to the cassettes, and he's like, VHS. He's like, you just keep recording, it's fine, just keep going. It's digital, just keep going. We got it.
During this whole sequence when he's walking around, there's a piece of music playing that has a super slow build. It takes several minutes before it even starts to pick up. It's very effective because he's alone for several minutes of screen time, and then he gets to like, I think he finally finds like a newspaper and sees like a bulletin board of missing people and stuff, and finally starts to understand that something bad happened. I don't exactly know what, but something bad happened. And I think this is when he gets to the church.
Yeah,
right?
He goes to the church, which in a situation like this, I would imagine would be kind of where I would go, or I would be going to a grocery store to get water and not Pepsi. But it makes sense that water would be hard to find, because if you have civil unrest, people would just be gobbling up all the water. It's the first thing that's going to go. It was a nice touch. But yeah, so the church scene I found very creepy, and this probably, for me, it was one of the most memorable scenes. When I think 28 Days Later, I think of this scene usually. He goes into a church, and he is up on the balcony, and he looks down into the pews, and there's just a ton of dead people. It looks like well over 100, maybe 150 dead people. These were all actually students that were extras for no pay. But he stupidly, I understand that he's been out of it and he's kind of scared, but the last thing I'm doing is shouting in the middle of this. Like, hey, is anybody? I'm like, I'm not shouting out there because something really, really bad happened.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a British thing or whatever, but there's repetition of him saying hello all the time.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello?
It's like, I can't see an American character doing that. Like, there'd be a few choice words that would come out that wouldn't be hello.
Yeah. So this is where we learn what kind of zombies we're dealing with too. So he shouts in this church, and like two people just pop up, and they've got bloodshot eyes, and they're just staring right at him, and then they just take off running. At this point, his reaction time is pretty slow. He's lucky he survived this. These guys just take off running, and he's like, what the fuck's happening? He starts backing up, and he sees a priest coming. He's just like, Father, what's happening? Well, Father's no longer with us. He's an Ebola zombie. And Cillian Murphy whacks him and manages to escape.
He whacks him with his bag full of Pepsis.
Effective? I mean, yeah, that would make me just like, give me a minute. God damn it.
It stings.
That slowed me down a little bit. It stings. Yeah, I thought this was a pretty eerie scene. Even rewatching it, I'm like, eesh, kind of.
Well, like we talked about Godzilla not that long ago. Like, it's a tone setter. It's like the first time you introduce your monster in proper, you need to establish what they can do, why they're dangerous, and make sure that you do them justice. Because you don't want it just like, if you were to introduce one of these guys and have him like jump at him and him like knock him straight out of the air, it'd be like, oh, well, they're no problem. It's like, no, you need to establish that these things are meant to be kind of scary and that they're capable. And they do a pretty good job of it.
So yeah, now he's on the run, and he starts to get help. The zombies start falling down, and then we're introduced to Naomie Harris, which what was her name? I can't remember what her name is. I'll just refer to her as Naomie Harris. Tia. I'm sorry, no, she's Tia Dalma from Pirates of the Caribbean.
I was like, no.
Tia Dalma. She's also in a couple of those James Bond movies.
Yeah, she's Moneypenny now. She's Miss Moneypenny.
Nice. She's in Pirates of the Caribbean.
I think she's in Ninja Assassin, which I've mentioned once before.
She is. And she's also in Moonlight, which I haven't seen yet still. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah. Same goes for me, unfortunately.
I think I was supposed to see that.
But yeah, she and this other fella, Mark, they show up and they start throwing Molotov cocktails at the zombies.
Yeah.
And all of them have great pitching arms, by the way.
I mean, they've survived. That is a reason why they've survived.
I mean, it's not even been a month though. I mean, that you train up your pitching arm that fast. But yeah, they're just pegging these zombies with Molotov cocktails, and like they very quickly figure out that he's human. I'm guessing because these zombies don't seem to pay any mind to each other.
No.
So if they're chasing someone, more than likely they're an uninfected person.
Yeah.
And yeah, the editing in this sequence was kind of bonkers. It was actually bothering me because I was worried that this was going to carry over to the rest of the film. Because like they do the man on fire stunts. Like,
oh yeah, they do.
All credit to that. Like I always love seeing a man on fire. That's always really cool.
It's always good.
But the way it's framed and the way it's edited, everything's really tight and really shaky. It's like the worst parts of a Pulp Greengrass movie. Like the Bourne movies, basically. And then things continue to escalate. So he joins up with the two of them. Zombies are on fire. They run into like a gas station. They jump out of the gas station. All of a sudden, the gas station explodes. And the shots, there's like a million cuts inside of 2 seconds. We get a massive like cityscape shot, like showing the scale of the explosion. So we get to see this like little fireball in this giant city. And then I think the actual gas station explosion was done via miniature. It's kind of cute looking. But yeah, just the escalation from we're throwing bottles at zombies to, oh my god, a gas station exploded. It just all happened very fast, and it was a little too hyperkinetic for my taste.
Understandable. I think it's just a way to edit it so that you're kind of understanding where the character's at. Like he's been pretty just still, and he still doesn't know what's going on, but he's getting thrown into it now. It's just fucking chaos.
Yeah, no, it's a good example of going from 0 to 60 because we got to spend a few minutes with him just slowly shuffling through the city, and now it's like full fucking sprint. So I get that, but it bothered me a little bit.
It was done much better by Steven Spielberg in Saving Private Ryan, where they're like, we're just on the boats, we're on the boats, fuck.
Yes, no, that's a great example of a 0 to 60 done very well.
So they get him to the gas station, and he's still kind of freaking out a little bit, and I think he starts yelling, and they're like, shut the fuck up, like just calm down. And he's like, we need help, and they're like, there's no government, no police, no army, like it's just a free for all right now. It's fucking chaos out there. And he's like, I need to go see my parents. And he's like, they tell him like, listen, that part has been evacuated. It's, if they're there, they're dead. And he insists.
Both of these two survivors is what they both say, that their friends and family are gone, and more than likely yours are too.
Yeah.
And also it's mentioned that right before the radio went dead, so like public radio, New York and Paris are confirmed to have problems,
Mm-hmm.
but that was the last report that got out.
Yeah, that's
So
not good.
yeah, so escape, I guess, isn't really a high priority for these two at the moment. Survival's more important from day to day.
Yeah. Um,
And Mark lays out 2 rules to Cillian Murphy. He says, like, always travel in daylight and never go anywhere alone unless you have to.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not traveling at nighttime with zombies out. Are you fucking crazy?
Yeah, I was like, thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
Those are 2 things I try not to do in my daily life anyway, but whatever.
Yeah, so how's your sex life? Jesus. So somehow, I don't know why they agreed to this, but they're like, all right, let's take this dipshit to his parents' house so we can see this. And they're probably like, okay, well, we'll go over there. They probably got some supplies or something. It might not be that bad, so we'll let him go see so he can accept this. They go over there, and I like their flat. I like their little apartment house thing here. It looks like, I guess, duplex. Like you got duplex next to duplex next to duplex. He starts walking up the stairs, and he covers his mouth, like his nose. That's a good indication that you should not continue if you can smell something that bad. And if you're moving towards something and the smell's getting worse, go the other way. Nothing good has happened up there. But he goes up to his parents' room, and they've done themselves in. Looks like they took some pills with some wine. Really nice way to go out in this situation. If I have the means, that's probably what I would do too. I'm like, well, it's hopeless. Let's cash it in. Yeah, it's pretty effective. The corpse, the actual corpses themselves look really good.
Yeah, actually, I was about to say the corpse makeup in this movie is very effective because it looks genuine. And I was watching this on Amazon, and they do the thing where they throw trivia up in the top corner every so often.
Yeah.
So it's
Pop-up
pop-up
video.
But there were a lot of instances I noticed where certain shots, like certain beats in the story, were slipped in there because Danny Boyle was looking at like photography, and he just had images in his head that he thought would contribute some sort of atmosphere. Like the first instance was when Cillian Murphy is alone wandering the city. There's some money just laying on the steps, like outside in like a public park or something, and he just like scoops it up. And I guess it was taken from a photo somewhere in Asia. And later on, there's a mother holding a dead baby that again was taken directly from a photo that Danny Boyle had happened to see from like a journalist at like a war zone. But yeah, the corpse makeup has that look to it where it's like, somebody actually did their research and tried to get this to look right.
Yeah, I think it looks really good.
And yeah, his parents have a photo of him as like a child with a letter written on the back that's pretty cool, where it's like, hey, we tried our best, it ain't working out, so we're gonna go to sleep just like you are, son. Don't wake up.
Jesus. Yeah, I don't know why. Did he keep that photo too? I
don't know if he kept it, but the message was pretty heavy, where it's just like
you don't keep that.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to keep that. That's not
going
to motivate me.
No, that is. Do you burn that picture or you leave it with them? Like,
yeah.
Leave it for the next person. So they stay there that evening. I guess it was too late for them to move again.
Yeah, I liked the story that Mark told here, because I mean, this is one of our last moments with Mark. No spoilers. But he tells this story about like trying to evacuate or something, and like he was with his family. He lost his sister, and he describes like the crowd of people as a carpet. And it's really cool imagery, like just to hear him say that, where it's like that. Yeah, it was like a group of people rendered as a carpet, and he had to climb them. And just that image of having to climb other people to escape something it's something that they didn't put in the film, unfortunately, probably because budget and
Or it looked like
paying that many extras and extras that have to get stepped on. That's probably expensive.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
It's a image that is uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
because especially in the West, the concept of a personal bubble is violation of a personal bubble is a scary thing.
Yeah.
And to just have massive bodies and stuff and have those people treating each other as not people, it's creepy.
When it does happen to you, you just have to like say to yourself, they're from another culture. It's a different culture. It's okay. It's a different culture.
Well, I remember
bubble.
one of my teachers was telling me a story about having to do business in an Arab country. I forget which one, but he said he had to undergo training because the personal bubble standards, especially in business, there's no boundaries. So when you're meeting this executive type guy, he'll go nose to nose with you, and if you step back, it's considered very rude.
Huh.
So he had to actually like train himself to be used to that.
Okay.
To be used to people brushing their mustaches against his.
So Cillian Murphy, probably because his lack of food and water, he's dehydrated, he's hungry. He's having a bit of a dream, or is he hallucinating a little bit? He has a light on
himself.
Yeah,
and he's looking off into the middle distance, so I think he's daydreaming. Maybe even hallucinating.
I think he's hallucinating a little bit because this is a lot to take all at once. Like, you wake up, you have no food in your body, no water, you get chased by zombies, your parents are dead, and now you've got like a minute to kind of think about this, meditate on it. And he's got a light on, and well, wouldn't you know it, that picks up the attention of some zombies, which is I'll put a pin in that because I had a problem at one point in this movie. So, yeah. So I feel like we've picked a couple of movies where people just start busting in through the windows.
Yeah.
It's been happening a lot lately. But yeah, they just straight up throw themselves.
Your Green Street hooligans. Maybe it's a British thing. Maybe
It
they
might
have
be.
no respect for windows.
I notice I keep picking British films and you keep picking Japanese films. Like, you should watch this Japanese film. You should watch this English film. We're just going back and forth.
Well, and what's funny is we keep picking things that's like, do you think you'd want to see more of this? Like, no. Not really.
Not.
There's kind of a reason I've stayed away from this for so long.
Yeah. But they managed to get Mark on the arm. They beat him all, and then they stop for a second. They realize that Mark has been
he's
bitten.
got a gash cut into his forearm. Man, this attack is messy.
It's messy, very much.
It's messy, and it's kind of funny because when we first meet Naomie Harris. By the way, every time there's an apocalypse, apparently everybody goes straight for the leather dusters.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for zombies, yes, a leather
that's
duster
what I
would
was
be
trying
good.
to say, though. Is like I make fun of it from an aesthetic standpoint because it is such a common thing to see. But in this case, transmitted via saliva and blood, you want to have as much of your body covered as possible.
Leather's a good
you
way
want
to
to
go
have
with
a
it.
ski mask on or something, which we see a character later on in the movie do. You want to have as little of yourself exposed as possible.
Yeah.
Because when Mark and Naomie Harris run into the kitchen to save Cillian Murphy, holy shit, there's blood everywhere. Like, they make no attempt to do this clean. It's just like, blah, blood everywhere. And it's like, dude, that's the thing that spreads the infection. Like, maybe try to limit the bloodletting.
See, what she should have done was just decapitate him real quick and just get it over with. But yeah, she hacks him to death. She doesn't just hack him once. I mean, she's bam, bam, bam. She's going bear Jew on him. Seriously,
absolutely. He
with
crumbles into the corner, and she's just overhanding this machete on top of him, and we get to see him like put his arms up to defend himself.
Yeah,
and that arm comes off.
It's fucking.
So she's
brutal.
she's not aiming around the arms. Like, just
I mean, it speaks to her character. Like, she's not fucking around. She's here. She's going to survive. Like, I was friends with this dude, but he got bit. She did not hesitate for a second.
No, there's repetition in the script that it's meant to be spelled out to you that this character, it's her philosophy that, if it's me or you, it's gonna be me who makes it out.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna be you who dies.
So we move along the next day. Go for it.
One quote following the death of Mark that it jumped out at me. I said put a pin in that on my own notes. It was,
okay.
Naomie Harris is like, she's frustrated because she just had to kill Mark, and Cillian Murphy is just like, what the fuck do we do now? And she throws out there the phrase, save the world or fall in love and fuck. And I was like, huh. So, like, that seems like an odd thing to throw out there. That's not verbatim what she says, but basically she's talking about the fact that Mark was idealistic, and he wanted to. That was basically what he was aiming to do. I guess.
Gotcha.
And she's like, "No, I just want to make it to tomorrow."
Yeah, that's legitimately what that should be your motivation in a situation like this. Like, I just want to make it to tomorrow. Like, fuck planning. Like, we just got to wake up tomorrow. That's key here. So yeah, now they start moving along, and I think it's starting to get is it starting to get dark at this point? Like, they're needing to find shelter here pretty soon. And then they see in the distance, in a pretty big apartment complex, say about 10, 12 stories, somebody's put up Christmas lights, flashing Christmas lights on the side, up in their window. Now, we just saw that him having a candle in the window, like just having it visible in the window, brought on a whole bunch of shit. Why? I get why you'd be wanting to, like, get attention from somebody, but this seems like too much attention, even though you're high up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I could see that. I'm not sure. Like, I interpreted noise as being more of a thing that draws the attention of these zombies, more so than light. But yeah, I don't recall Cillian Murphy making any loud noises when he was hallucinating in the kitchen. So
yeah, there's just a candle.
You have to assume that that is part of it. But yeah, I mean, I guess they were willing to take the chances.
So they was it say they walk?
I was just gonna say they head to the tower block. Naomie Harris and Cillian Murphy. There's this cute set dressing at the bottom of the stairwell where there's shopping carts, like a pyramid of shopping carts basically, and Cillian Murphy has a quip about, like, what the hell is up with tower blocks and shopping carts? Like,
yeah,
it must be a thing or something in, like, the housing projects or whatever.
Yeah.
But they start ascending the stairs to head to where the Christmas lights were blinking, and Naomie Harris asks Cillian Murphy, like, do you need a break? And he's like, no. And then 2 seconds later, he's like, yeah. And they have actually, like, this exchange. It was kind of cute, where they're sitting on the stairs together, and she actually rightfully points out that, so you were in a coma, you haven't eaten, you've been running around, and all you've had is a Pepsi. And like you had said, your orange Fanta made you queasy. I imagine the same would happen if all you had was a Pepsi and you're dehydrated. And she has a pharmacy in her backpack. Which immediately made me think she was like a nurse or something. It's never explicitly said what her background is. She's a chemist, apparently.
I think she was right place, right time. That's the other place I would go. I would go to a pharmacy and just start dumping stuff, like whatever I can find in there. Just take everything. Really smart on her part. That's one of the first places I would go. But yeah, she says you have no fat stored and all you've had is sugar, so you're crashing now.
It just seemed like a very, very lucid interpretation of his situation. Like, it came so naturally to her that it's like, does she have a medical background or something?
I think we could assume that she's maybe a doctor or a nurse.
I mean, that's just an assumption on my part. Like I said, it's never actually stated, but
I'm comfortable.
It just
with that.
jumped out at me how quickly she identified that. Like, she did the math in her head. Like, oh, you have these problems. This is how we fix that.
That would also make sense, like, to why she was hacking up Mark as soon as possible. Because she's like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's already in your system. I mean, she also has seen how quickly it can turn somebody, but also she's like, it doesn't matter if it was just a little bit or a lot, you're fucked. So
yeah.
But yeah, so they get up the stairs, and then there's a gentleman with looks like mostly riot gear, and and he's really friendly, and he's just like, oh, come on, like he's like, go around there, knock on the door.
Yeah,
and there's
some infected get into the building and are chasing them up the stairs, and we get a call back to Naomie Harris, like only from a few minutes earlier. As soon as the infected are on the stairwell, she takes the fuck off. And Cillian Murphy is actually like yelling to her, like, please don't leave me. Because he's
don't make me
still
leave
worn
you.
out. He's not moving very quickly. And she's zipping up the stairs.
Yeah.
And yeah, this gentleman in the riot gear says, I think like room 157, go.
Yeah.
So she takes off right past him, and he has a riot shield. Like, it's like a polymer riot shield or something. And yeah, he blocks off the stairwell and manages to fend off the infected, and then they all head into the apartment.
Yeah. Well, the girl's like, "Where's Dad? Where's Dad?" They're not letting him.
There's a young girl in the apartment that won't let him in until she knows if it's okay.
I honestly forgot that Brendan Gleeson was in this movie. I was thinking it was the second movie he was in. So when he comes in, I'm like, "Oh shit, he's in this one."
On my notes, I wrote Brendan Gleeson with 4 exclamation points.
Yeah, I have it.
I was very surprised to see him.
I said Brendan Gleeson, 1 exclamation point. Never trust a dude that big in an apocalypse.
Oh shit! I'm gonna read my note because I
it.
think that's hilarious. Mine says Brendan Gleeson, 4 exclamation points. Big dude, lives in the projects, has riot gear, Christmas music. This guy is a monster.
I was gonna say he's gonna eat you.
I was very suspicious of him from minute 1.
I think we're supposed to, because he's being way too friendly. That's the thing, and like he's not John Goodman from 10 Cloverfield Lane, where you're just on edge the entire time. Yeah, he's almost like a red herring, where you're just like, oh, this guy's gonna just snap at any minute, or just like, we're gonna have to kill one of you because my daughter and I are hungry. So
well, I hate to say it, but I almost got like a Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead vibe with the pregnant Russian girl.
Oh yeah,
where it's like, oh, mom's in the back bedroom or something, and they're keeping her alive or something. Because
that would make sense, yeah.
Because they end up offering them drinks, some green shit.
Cream de mint.
Yeah.
Mint. Yeah.
And the girl mentions that it's mom's, but mom's not there.
Yeah, I like how he gives his daughter. She's probably like 12 or 13, just around puberty age, and he gives her a little bit of booze, which I'm like, that's good. He gives her a little bit less than everybody else, which I'm like, yeah, that's good. But he also is realistic, like, it's not looking great, so drink up, sweetie.
He's kind of the heart and soul of the movie. He's my favorite character in it.
Yeah, I would agree.
He's just a good guy.
Actually,
they do a very good job of laying the groundwork for it's like, oh shit, is he gonna turn at some point?
He's a great guy, but I think Naomie Harris is my favorite character. I really appreciate her survival skills. There's especially one moment later we'll get to where she comes in clutch. It backfires on her, but yeah. Yeah. Zombie 101. If you're never the more you know, you're never safe in cities, and I do believe somebody says it. I think Brendan Gleeson's like, you're never safe in cities, or maybe I figured it out. I don't know, but if you're in a major city, Trevor, you're in Seattle. You need to get on water or get up to a mountain, or get someplace cold. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and say, since we're doing a zombie movie, if we're ever in a zombie apocalypse, go to where it's cold. Because if the zombies are out walking, they're going to have difficulty, and also they're going to freeze, and they're not going to be able to move. So go where it's cold.
Oh, so you're fine. I'm fucked.
Yeah. So yeah, they all hang out, and he gives Naomie Harris the bedroom, and he's like, I'm just gonna crash on the couch. Cillian Murphy's like, I'm just gonna crash on the couch, and they almost make out here, I think, or do they make out?
They have a cute exchange where you can tell that they're starting to warm up to each other a bit. Yeah. Funny, there was something that I thought was setting up for something, but it was just me overanalyzing things. He's shaving in the apartment, and they don't have any water. Mm-hmm. The plumbing's done. And he cuts the fuck out of his face.
Real bad.
Like he's got just like a shitty Bic razor with no water. Yes, and he has a full beard because he was in a fucking coma. So he cuts the fuck out of his face, and I was thinking like, oh shit, he's got open wounds all over his face. Is he gonna like get blood smeared on him and turn or something? Mm-hmm. Obviously, it doesn't come into play, but it was just a funny little detail. But yeah, they sleep in separate quarters, and then the following day, Brendan Gleeson's character's name is Frank, by the way. He takes Cillian Murphy up onto the roof, and we have this really cool set dressing where he has like anything that can contain or pool water in it, just like on the roof, ready for if it rains.
Hasn't rained in how many days was it?
10, I think.
Quite a while.
Yeah, and he has this funny line where he mentions that like, oh yeah, I saw something on TV where you take like saran wrap and you put it over a bucket or a hole and you can create condensation and get water, and I've seen that in movies too. Like I know what he's talking about, but I don't actually know how to do it. So he like you can actually see that he tried. He's like, fuck, I don't know how to do it.
I don't know how to do this.
If only he had the Googles.
Yeah, 2002, they did not have good Googles. They start to talk a little bit, and he's like, we need to get out of here because like we're getting thirsty and we're just gonna die here. And they end up, all four of them, they end up, I think, all on the roof or on a balcony, and they're talking like they're trying to get a radio signal. They're messing with the radio, and they finally do get a signal, and they get this it sounds like military dudes are like, if you're alive, try to get to us. We're like 26 miles east of London or Manchester. If you can make it out here, we've got supplies. You can make it. Like,
we have supplies, we have food, we have weapons, we can protect you. Yeah. And the key phrase though is we have an answer to the infection.
Yeah. That's a big selling point.
For Naomie Harris, people who are, in need of water and food, that's a huge selling point.
This goes against what Naomie Harris wants to do. This is a huge risk. Like you have to get a vehicle, and you have to actually drive out there. She's not one to make plans like that. She's just, like she said, she's surviving day to day.
Her big thing is that it's obviously a recording. Yeah, meaning it is the person who recorded it may not even be alive.
Yeah, and it's actually the daughter. I forgot what her name is.
Hannah.
Hannah. She's actually the voice of reason here. She's like, we can die there, we can die here. Like we at least got to take a chance, and I believe she's right in this instance. Like,
I think so.
Yeah, you got to try. You know what's here. You can just keep going from apartment to apartment. You might bump into other people, and they might not like you. And they might not want to take any risks harboring you.
Oh yeah, and yesterday 2 zombies made it up the stairs to the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's only a matter of time before others follow.
They pile into they call it the cab. Is it actually a cab?
It's a taxi.
Is it a taxi? Okay.
Yeah, it says taxi, and he even turns on the meter and makes a joke about it.
They're like, let's get out of here, and they decide. They all pack up. They're all in the cab, and they decide they're gonna try to get out of London as fast as possible by taking the tunnel. Cillian Murphy, I believe, is like, no, let's not do that.
His dialogue during this scene is pretty great.
It's great. I really like this scene. This was a really tense scene.
It was very good.
But it's all piled up. I don't know how he did this, but there must have been like so many people like just speeding through here that just cars were just smashed together. But they get into the tunnel, and Cillian Murphy's like, look, great, we're fucking blocked. And
he's like, I know this is a shitty idea because it's really obviously a shitty idea.
He's right. He's absolutely right. Do not take a tunnel like that. But Frank's just not having it, so he decides he's going to pop a wheelie and just ride up over the cars, which was pretty dumb. I don't know how it was happening, but everyone's having a good time then.
Yeah, the logic of how they ascended this barricade is... I'm sorry, that's not how that works.
Fantastical, yes.
I really like, though, how there's, like, no words, really. He just kind of, like... Cillian Murphy's yelling at him, like, oh, well, I guess we got to turn back. And Brendan Gleeson just starts easing on the accelerator. It's a very dad move.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what to do.
They're having a pretty good time, and wouldn't you know it, they blow out a tire right as they're about to be finished with riding on
Brendan Gleeson lets out, like, one of the juiciest fucks I've ever heard. It's like a growl.
Because you know it was your fault and it could have been avoided, and now you're a sitting duck.
Yeah. In an enclosed space.
They manage. This is a really tense scene. They start to change the tire, and in the background you can see the shadows moving. You know that, oh no, zombies are coming.
The arrival of the zombies are heralded by the rats.
Oh yes, oh yeah, because the girl's like changing the tire and she freaks out because
she's laying on her back, on the pavement, and then a tidal wave of rats come up on her.
Yeah, I wouldn't change another tire the rest of my life. My back's not going on the ground again if that happens to me. But yeah, zombies are coming, and just in the nick of time, they get it changed and they get out of there, and they're driving along, and Naomie Harris is like, "Stop here." And they stop in front of. I couldn't figure. I thought it was her apartment complex or maybe like one of her families, but it was actually a grocery store. Mm-hmm. And they go in and they start getting groceries. I really like. This was a really nice touch that they had. Fucking Frank. He's like looking at the whiskeys and he's like reading off the back of it. And he's like, "Ooh, single malt." Just like going through all the ingredients. And he's like, "Oh, this should be pretty good." And he puts one in there and he takes another, and he takes another. He takes 4 altogether.
I love the one phrase he has. It's like it puts out the fire but keeps in the warmth.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's how you sell booze.
I know exactly what he means. It means it's not rough on the throat, but it's still nice and nice and warm.
I love how Cillian Murphy is like taking stuff off the shelf, and Frank actually like takes it from him. So it's like, don't just pick anything. Like go for the good stuff.
Yeah, he's right. He's right.
Yeah, this whole scene was. It felt lifted directly from the original Dawn of the Dead, especially.
I still haven't seen it because
there's that happy, uplifting moment where everything's great in the zombie movie right before everything's not great. It's genuinely fun because we just had a really tense scene in the tunnel, and everybody is on this emotional high where it's like we just got out of something really scary, and now we have like a fucking playground basically.
Yeah. So yeah, they pack up all their stuff. I was worried that something was going to happen here. Oh, and I still haven't seen the original Dawn of the Dead because there's no platform for me to stream it. Like I'd have to buy it. I don't know if it's worth me buying. It's really frustrating.
Yeah, I think I mentioned before that like I think the rights to it are in flux right now, and they have been for a while. So I could see it being difficult to track down on streaming.
Yeah, I'll get there.
Anyway, good. It's very good.
I'm sure it is. I like the remake. I mean, I liked the remake at the time. I could see that story, and if it has really good makeup effects, if it's George Romero, it should.
Makeup effects are not as good as Day of the Dead.
Oh, really?
It's older.
I still like Day of the Dead.
I think it's older and cheaper.
I liked Day of the Dead.
I really like Day of the Dead. I think it's underappreciated. I mean, we'll get to the Day of the Dead portion of this movie at some point.
Oof, yeah. So they get out there. They get to the outskirts. They're not quite to Manchester. They're on the outskirts, and they find like some stone, like some stones, basically. Rocks.
Right before that is where we go to the diner, and Cillian Murphy kills a kid.
Yeah.
It's a minor point. I think it's just meant to show that his character has changed a bit, like. Because before he has an exchange with Naomie Harris where she says like, taking into consideration of other people is what's going to slow you down and is what's going to get you killed, and he at the time says that yes, I would go out of my way to save other people, and she's like, well, that's because you're stupid.
Yeah,
and I feel like him bashing in this kid's brains in the diner. An infected kid, by the way.
Yeah, he wasn't just a kid. Yeah,
is meant to demonstrate that he's starting to lean a little bit more towards her point. Like he's understanding the gravity of the situation a bit.
Yeah, we get a nice scene where Brendan Gleeson's siphoning. He's siphoning gas from a truck, and he has he's finished. He has his daughter roll up in the car, and she's not 15. She's like 12 or 13, and she's driving the car, and she's not slowing down, and
she's a stunt driver.
Yeah, she swings it to the side, scaring the shit out of everybody.
Well, it's a fucking gas truck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not even just that. Just like you could just wreck our one vehicle. Like
Yeah.
we're stranded if you fuck this up. It's nice because he's mad. He's like, oof, just get back.
It's a very dad moment.
Yeah, I would be furious. Like, you're never driving again. Are you out of your fucking mind? There's no. I have no sense of humor in a zombie apocalypse. Are you kidding me? With our mode of transportation? Absolutely not.
Go to your room.
I might
in the
take
back of the cab.
I might take a finger for that, actually, for that kind of play. So yeah, they're out there camping, eating. This was a nice scene too.
Yeah, you get horses. It's like a little picnic.
I like that too. He's like admiring the horses. Little picnic. Naomie Harris and Cillian Murphy go for a little walk. I think this is where they're. Are they about?
She gives him a peck on the cheek.
Yeah.
It's like a very grade school gesture. It's like, nah. I like you.
I like
this. I have to run away.
I liked this little scene. In the evening, they're going to sleep, and Brendan Gleeson is going to let the rest of them get some shut eye before they take off. He's like, "You guys go ahead and get some sleep. I'll stay up." And Naomie Harris takes Valium, and she gives one to Cillian Murphy, and then she's offering one to the little girl. She's like, and the dad's like, no, you don't need one. Which I understand. Like, yeah, he gave her a little bit of booze before, and then now she's wanting like prescription pills. He's like, okay, let's just take it easy. Oh, they mentioned like, why is she already asleep? Like, yeah. Naomie Harris is already out, and they're like, hey, are you asleep? I'm like, yeah. How are you out so quick? She's like, Valium. You want one? Like, you'll go to sleep. So Brendan Gleeson finally like, okay, just give her half of one. So I want to pause for a sec here and ask you, what kind of commentary do you think they're making with this? Because he lets her have a little bit of booze. He doesn't want her to have any pharmaceutical drugs. There's a lot of, like you said, specifically Pepsi product placement in this. They're eating a lot of junk food. And I also read that the rage was supposed to kind of symbolize like real world anger, like heightened anger. I feel like there's a message here. They're trying to get at something. I just at the time I wasn't really picking up on it, but now that we're talking back through it, I don't know what you thought about that. Is there?
I'm not sure actually. I'm desperately trying to remember what was going on in the world in the early 2000s in regards to like health scares, because I feel like the one major thing that this movie brings to the table is like this is officially a zombie disease.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the scary nature of disease is the fact that it can spread, but traditionally like part of the fear of disease is that it has a gestation period of some sort that makes it invisible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure actually what exactly they're trying to say with this. I mean, the junk food thing I think has more to do with just we don't have the means to cook anything, and anything that was fresh is no longer fresh 28 days later, except for the irradiated apples.
The apples, yeah.
So everything we're eating is packaged and stuff.
Well, even so, that I think they're still trying to say something. That's a good point. Is the apples, because all the fruit's spoiled except for these one apples.
Yeah.
Why are they not spoiled? Why is it just this kind? Do they have a lot
because they're genetically altered and covered in pesticides and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like they were trying to say something. I mean, it works out for the story that they'd have all this packaged food and sodas left over, but I feel like they were trying to get a message across. I just wasn't quite sure what it was, and I thought
I think the fact that this is a UK movie maybe muddles it a bit, because obviously I don't have as much insight into UK affairs from that time period as I do over here.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just curious. The prescription, when I was watching him, like the prescription painkiller part was like, okay, maybe they're trying to get at something here. But anyway, off topic there. So yeah, they get up the next day, get on the road.
There's a nightmare sequence in here that was
very effective. Oh, this was very good actually. Yeah,
very effective because, like we said about Brendan Gleeson's character, my impulse as a person who has seen a few movies of this nature was to brand him as a potential threat.
Absolutely.
Of some fashion. Like, I could totally see a dad going unhinged and becoming overly protective of his daughter. And directly preceding this scene, we just loaded up the car with supplies.
Mm-hmm.
Do we really need 2 more passengers?
No.
Not really. So we get this scene where Cillian Murphy wakes up, and he's completely alone in the same location that he went to sleep in, and he does his hello, hello, like 3-4 times, and he's obviously distraught and doesn't know what to do. And then we cut back to him and Brendan Gleeson. He's back in the camp. It's still night, and Brendan Gleeson like shakes him awake and says, "Hey, you're having a nightmare. It's like it's okay." So we get.
He calls him son too.
Yeah, it was well done. Like, I was like, oh shit, did he just get ditched?
Yeah, it was effective.
And then it's funny because he wakes up in exactly the same fashion as he did in the dream, and the way it's framed, it's like, oh shit, did it happen for real? But no, he wakes up to the car honking, and it turns out everybody else loaded up the car, and they let him sleep.
I did the drug math, and this actually checks out. Brendan Gleeson didn't have any, nor did I think he caught any shut-eye. I think he stayed up all night. Naomie Harris has been popping these pills, so 1 pill for her, probably not that big a deal. She's going to come out of it pretty quick. Hannah only had half of 1, so she's not as affected. He hasn't had any, so actually it makes sense that he would be the last one up, because he's had the most powerful dosage. But he wakes up last, and... like, come on, come get in the car. Like, he just literally picks up his pillow, blanket, and then goes into the car.
So yeah, we go for another driving montage, and then I believe we arrive at Manchester, and they stop the car briefly because there's this grand reveal where it's a very slow tilt up, and we get to see that the entirety of the city appears to be on fire.
Yeah, it is on fire.
And Naomie Harris rightfully points out that it's like, well, there's no firemen, so whatever's burning is just going to keep burning.
Yeah.
It's a neat effect. It's well done, and probably didn't cost too much to do because it's such a distant shot that they just matted the sky and the skyline portion of the city, and it's at such a great distance that you can't really make out any details, but you get it. You get the visual.
And this actually leads into one of my favorite scenes in the movie is they get to the gate basically to get into the city, and there's cars basically blocking it off, and they kind of have to zigzag a little bit through.
It looks like a military checkpoint almost.
Yeah, it does. Very heavily guarded, but not by people. Military checkpoint. They get in there and they all get out of the car. And they're kind of walking around, and there's nobody here. There's tents, nobody's in there. There's trucks, and we get this really good scene with Brendan Gleeson, and he's frantically like looking around, like there's got to be something here. And I thought this was done really well because, one, he's a father who's trying to take care of his daughter, and this was going to be that moment where he could just relax. That's why he couldn't sleep. He's 100% focused on saving my daughter, and he's realizing now that he put all of his faith into this getting them to this checkpoint, getting them to this area, and there's nobody there, and he's not taking it very well.
Yeah.
I think does Hannah try to calm him down and he shoves her?
I don't remember that, but Naomie Harris tells him, like, we gotta go. Like, it's probably not safe here. And he shouts at all of them, like, and go where?
Yeah.
And then he just storms off.
It reminds me of 6 Days, 7 Nights, where Harrison Ford, they realize, he's like, I think we're on a different island, and he goes into the shrubs. He's like, son of a bitch!
Yeah. He's like, excuse me. That's the second time that movie's come up. And yeah, I happen to enjoy it.
But yeah, so he's like, I need a breather. He kind of walks away to just like get his composure, come back, and there's a dead body hanging from pretty high. I'm guessing because they had guards posted up, and I'm guessing what happened is he somehow died up there. maybe he got shot. I don't really know, but he's hanging up, or he was put there by somebody. But there's a crow, just kind of munching on him a little bit, and he's standing directly underneath the body, and a drop of blood comes down and hits him in the eye.
Yeah, actually, it's even worse than that. He's sitting, and the crow keeps cawing, and he's pissed off. That's the last thing he wants to deal with right now.
Yeah,
is a fucking bird laughing at him, basically.
Yeah.
So he actually walks up to I think it's a gate that the guard is suspended on top of, and he kicks the gate to scare off the crow.
Oh,
yeah. And in kicking the gate, it vibrates the corpse, which causes a drop of blood to fall directly onto his fucking eyeball. Ew.
Right into the bloodstream. And it's happening immediately. And he just starts to, like, kind of spasm a little bit. And I think his daughter tries to come up, and he's like, get away from me here. Like, get away from me.
It's a very effective scene. Very well acted.
Very well.
Like, the music, I think, was effective here too, because like there's like a tone that plays like as soon as his eyeball gets contacted by the blood, it's like, oh, like you the viewer know what this means.
Yeah.
And he does too. And he actually, like, before he starts to get violent, he turns to his daughter and he says, like, Hannah, I love you very much, but keep away. And she's taking time to process what's happening. Like, you can tell that nobody knows what happened. You can just tell he's acting weird, and he's telling them to stay away.
Brendan Gleeson is, like, after I've rewatched a couple movies with him, and it's made me think of other movies I've seen. He is really climbing up as one of my favorite people, like one of my favorite actors to watch.
He's magnetic. Like, you see him, and he just has a way about him. Mm-hmm. Like, Gangs of New York he wasn't in it much, but every scene that he's in, you're kind of transfixed on him. And Lake Placid, he's like, why are you in this movie, Brendan Gleeson?
I just rewatched that a couple days ago. I had some credits on Google Play, and that was the only platform that had Lake Placid. I was trying to get some Platt in, some Oliver Platt. He steals it, but
of course.
Rewatch it. He's trying to do an American accent there. It's not 100%.
It's weird because I remember seeing it when it was new and I was young, and I was just like, "What is this guy's deal?" Like, he just sounds weird. He sounds like he's trying to creep out everyone.
And I've had a pin in Bruges for a while, and this would be a good time to do it while it's Christmassy. But he's really good in that.
There's some movie, I think it's called Cavalry, that I remember. It got a big hullabaloo. Like, critics loved it from a few years ago. I think he's the headliner of it. I don't know a thing about it. I've just seen stills of him looking cool.
I found one. I think he's in it. Nil by Mouth. It's from like 1997, or maybe that's Ray Winstone actually.
I mean, they're both hardy Brits.
Yeah,
with giant heads.
It is Ray Winstone. Yeah, it is Ray Winstone.
I'd love to see a death match between the two of them.
Oh,
it would be long
and sweaty. If you like those two dudes, remember those two dudes boxing in Gangs of New York? Those two just
be like round 105.
That dude's dead. I think he killed the other guy. I'm pretty sure that dude was dead. But yeah, he turns.
I wouldn't want to see his kids in the crowd like cheering for him. It'd be terrifying.
And I always forget he's in Braveheart.
Oh yeah, that's right.
he's in Braveheart. So yeah, he turns, and I think he's turned so quickly. Like you said, this was really good. Like, his physical acting is really good in this. He turns, and I think he starts coming towards him, and they're kind of caught off guard by this. Like, they're not even ready for what has happened. And he's
Naomie Harris is.
But he's also a monster. Like, this isn't going to be easy. Like,
he's a big guy.
He was a decent sized guy, pretty average, a little bigger than Cillian Murphy, but not by much. Brendan Gleeson's a fucking tank. Like, he's a big dude. Like, if I saw him coming at me full blast, I'm like, oh fuck, take out his knees. Take out his knees, get behind him.
Well, I mean, it's like a silverback charging at you. It's just like, what do I do? It's like, well, there's not a whole lot to be done.
Nope. There's not really what you
just cross yourself and hope for the best.
Pray to somebody.
But yeah, Naomie Harris is crying out to Cillian Murphy to kill him. He's turned. Kill him. And Cillian Murphy has this bat, and he's thinking it over. And Naomie Harris is busy like trying to keep Hannah from going to her dad.
Yeah.
So she, the most capable person in the group is she got her hands full at the moment.
Yeah.
And just as Brendan Gleeson charges at them, some shots are fired, and he gets riddled with squibs.
Yeah.
And then it's revealed that there are some military folks that have been just kind of hiding around them or something.
Yeah, like assholes.
Yeah, it's like, how long were you there?
Well, it makes sense as we move along why.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we get to... so they get saved by the military. They've got gas masks on, or gas masks on. And they lead them with all their supplies. They get in the car and they follow them back to this pretty big house.
I'd call it a mansion, dude.
Yeah, we'll call it a mansion. I like that. That'll work. And the guy kind of running this place he's actually one of the more recent Doctor Who's.
Christopher Eccleston.
It's funny, him as Doctor Who, he walks like Charlie Hunnam in Green Street Hooligans. He has like
he's got that swagger.
Yeah, he walks like that in Doctor Who the few episodes I watched with him.
Yeah, Christopher Eccleston, like, I don't have much of a connection with him, but I know he's one of the Doctor Who guys, so obviously a huge chunk of nerd fandom.
Yeah,
like know and love him. He was also in Thor 2 as maybe the most ineffectual villain in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I haven't seen any of those movies.
And he was in the Stephen Sommers G.I. Joe movie.
Nope, didn't watch that either.
As Destro. He's very Scottish in G.I. Joe. I don't think he has a Scottish accent in this movie though.
Is Carrie Elwes? Is he British too? I believe.
I think he's legit British. If he isn't, he just has a weird accent because in Saw, he sounds like a British guy desperately trying to sound American, and it comes across as pitiful.
He is British. I do believe he is. I mentioned because he was on that Capital. I think he did like a Capital One commercial, something like that.
Well, he even has that line in Robin Hood Men in Tights where he looks direct to camera and he's like, "Unlike some other Robin Hoods, I can speak with a British accent."
I listened to a podcast about that Prince of Thieves movie where Kevin Costner is not British, nor is anybody in that movie except for Alan Rickman, really.
Yeah.
But I was surprised that they didn't mention that he actually does do a British accent at one point, and it's to get rid of a guard, basically. And like maybe they left that in the movie to like look how bad his British accent is. Like,
do you really want this for 2 hours?
No, you don't. Just pretend that's what you're hearing. So,
well, I mean, Christian Slater, like, I don't know if it's intentional, but it fades in and out.
I didn't even notice it. I thought he was just doing raspy Christian Slater. So there was so they get in there. He's like, "Oh, welcome. We'll get you guys some dinner." And there's a moment where one of the guards, I think, there's a guard who has kind of a temper, and
Mitchell.
He's unhappy with something, and we're not really sure what it is. But I forget what happens here. I wanted to mention that I realized that there was trouble happening because I actually kind of forgot about this sequence. I'm like, I know something bad happens here. I remember the one zombie gets away, but I can't remember how. But yeah, I think the girls go off to do something, and Cillian Murphy walks around with Doctor Who, and he shows him the one soldier that turned into a zombie, and they have him chained up.
The zombie's name is Mailer. I guess he was one of their group, but he got infected, and we get this scene that it's like, why would you hang your dirty laundry in here? Like, there's a zombie in there. You want to be able to see him all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get this perspective shot of something charging at them. It's a little Evil Dead-esque, and it turns out it's a zombie like with a choke collar on, with a chain attached to it. And Christopher Eccleston doesn't react, but like Cillian Murphy actually like tries to tackle him out of the way.
Yeah.
And it's explained to Cillian Murphy that this is one of our guys. We have him chained up. He makes no acknowledgement of the inherent cruelty of this. But his logic, and this actually does make some sense, is he wants to see how long it'll take for this thing to starve to death.
Yeah.
Because if all these zombies scattered throughout the country are deprived of food for long enough, maybe we can just outlast them.
Yeah. It's very smart.
It's smart. I mean, it's fucking cruel, but,
It's cruel, but
in an us or them kind of situation, I kind of get it.
Given the circumstances, I'll allow it.
In the words of the immortal Mills Lane, I'll allow it.
I'll allow it.
Yeah, this whole sequence when he's touring the camp, it has an eerie atmosphere that's very effective. Because from the get-go, the testosterone level in this camp is nuts.
Through the roof. Oh, the scene with the cook down. I knew there was trouble when he goes down into the kitchen and he sees one of the guys cooking. He's got his camo on, but on top of his camo, he's got a really feminine what do you call it? Apron, a very feminine apron. And I'm like, these guys are kind of off because he's like kind of laughing and he's being goofy down there.
They're all being goofy and grab assy. Like it has like a frat house kind of feel to it.
Yeah,
and it's uncomfortable because these are newcomers and nobody's making any attempt to accommodate them. You can tell they're kind of like in their own little reality right now. And not only that, there's in addition to the testosterone level being elevated, there's also an air of incompetence going around.
Yeah,
like, you don't get the sense that these are good soldiers.
No, that's the other thing is like, yeah, you get to this base and you've got all these military dudes. You're expecting to be a tight operation, like these guys are on point, and it's pretty loosey goosey, and like it's a little unsettling. Like that's not what I was expecting when I got here, and I'm not. I think it's after the dinner scene or before the dinner scene, but I noticed that Doctor Who, the guy running this thing, is actually drinking the whiskey that they took from the store.
Yeah, I think it's after the dinner scene.
Mm-hmm.
That really jumped out at me.
Yeah.
Before that, though, we do get a hint as to their intentions, where our heroes, so Naomie Harris, Hannah, who's not doing so hot after her dad died,
no,
and Cillian Murphy, they're all given a room and they're allowed to relax for a bit. But Cillian Murphy looks out the window onto the grounds, and the soldiers are doing like donuts with their cab.
Mm-hmm.
So they took their vehicle and they're unloading the goods into their camp.
Yeah.
So they effectively just commandeered their supplies and their vehicle without asking.
Yeah.
It's like, that's kind of fucked.
Yeah, I mean,
and these guys all have guns.
If they would have had the conversation like, listen, we'll protect you. I mean, we'll take your supplies. We'll bring you in. You'll have protection, but I mean, you brought supplies. We'll take that in exchange. I'm like, that I would understand. I still wouldn't be super happy about, but at least there would be a conversation.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think they have dinner and there's an exchange.
The dinner scenes where it really culminates, where it's like, oh, this is not a good place to be.
Yeah. Is this where they mention? Oh, they're sitting at dinner and the alarm basically goes off. Like there's something that's happening. There's a conversation that's happening at the table, and I think that's where we learn that one of the guys makes a pass at Naomie Harris, and one of the other soldiers tells him like to fuck off.
Yeah.
And that's when they first get there.
There's one soldier in the group who's more philosophical than the rest.
Yeah.
And he's kind of ridiculed for it. And
yeah.
By his expression, you can tell that this is a theme. It has a very like Lord of the Flies kind of feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
A military academy group think kind of thing, where it's like you got to weed out the non-believers. It has a cultish atmosphere to it almost. And to cement that theory, the thing that really jumped out at me was that Christopher Eccleston comes to the dinner table, which is lit with candles and stuff, by the way. So it has an air of ceremony to it.
Mm-hmm.
He comes to the dinner table in his dress uniform.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's a little odd.
It's a little odd. And yeah, the one guy, Mitchell, who, by the way, I interpreted him as Michael Shannon and Kevin Dillon mixed together. So Kevin Dillon as Bunny from Platoon.
Yeah.
Mixed with like Michael Shannon's facial features.
I can see that.
He's totally Bunny. Like
Yeah.
everything about him is like he is the scum of the earth, but in this particular set of circumstances, he thrives. Like he's able to get away with things that he probably couldn't in daily life,
Yeah.
in society. But yeah, during dinner, this alarm goes off and everybody goes to their battle stations because on the grounds they like set up mines and floodlights because it's just like wide open space. So anything that's coming at them, they can see it coming a mile away, and everybody just takes off and starts shooting. And this is where that incompetence aspect comes into things, where it's like, wow, these guys are not good soldiers.
No, they're not good soldiers. But Cillian Murphy goes to have a drink with Doctor Who, and this is where he's drinking the whiskey that they took from the store. And he is explaining to him that we're pretty much everything that's left. We don't know who else is out there. I mean, this has gone across the world, and he's like, my boys have been here for a long time, and I have to keep them sane, and to keep them sane, we got to have sex with those. They got to have sex with those two girls.
He says, I promised them women. And it needs to be said that directly preceding this scene, the reason why they have a drink, and the reason why a drink is offered to Cillian Murphy is after all the violence, so when everybody's super aggro and has their adrenaline pumping, that Mitchell guy, Kevin Dillon, he comes back and instantly gets rapey with Naomie Harris.
Yeah.
And he and Cillian Murphy have a little exchange. They go at it for a bit, and Christopher Eccleston breaks it up. And after the dust is cleared, he just says, "Drink."
See, he actually, it's the one you were saying that is standing out. The one guy that's just he's not falling ranks. He's the one that brings it up too. Like he says something, and it's actually Doctor Who that gets onto him. He's like, "Hey," which in this situation you were like, why wouldn't he get mad at the guy getting rapey? Why is he getting mad at the guy who's standing up for her?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
clearly your suspicions are confirmed at this point. Something very dark is going on in this place, and it's all but confirmed once Christopher Eccleston says, "I promised them women." It's like, well, I only know of 2 women on the campus right now.
And he just books it out of there, and he runs up to the room to get the 2, Naomie Harris and Hannah. And they start running out, and as they're about to run out the front door, he just gets clocked right in the mouth. And I think he pretty much just wakes up in a dungeon at that point.
Yeah, and we get that really creepy sequence where the non-believer of the military guys, he's also chained up in there with him, and you can just hear him barely audible muttering to himself. And he's droning on and on about how he believes that the rest of the world has left the UK behind. The rest of the world is fine. There's no infection beyond the UK.
The UK is just a quarantine.
Yeah, he's like, it's a quarantine because it's an island. Which contradicts what Naomie Harris told us earlier in the movie, though, that there were reports of infection in New York and Paris.
Yeah.
So this guy is delusional in some ways. But, I mean, he's on the side of the angels in some ways, so, he's not a bad person, but
no,
the thoughts running through his head are not correct.
So the next day, Cillian Murphy and this guy are taken out. And there's a big pile of bodies that's located just at the end of the wall on the property, and it's pretty clear that they're about to get shot in the head. They're just going to be executed. And I think what's the one soldier's name that he was chained up with?
I don't know the name of the guy who he's chained up with.
He's the goody two shoes guy. I think he starts talking some shit to the really mean guy, and the mean guy's like, "I'm not going to shoot this dude. I'm going to stab him. Which is awful. Do the right thing. Just shoot him in the head. If you're gonna kill him, just shoot him in the head." And he's like, "No, I'm gonna gut this dude. This is gonna be bad." And his partner is just like, no, that's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to just shoot them. And
it's the cook, probably the dopiest member of the group.
And out of whatever shred of humanity he has left, he puts this guy out of his misery. He shoots him before his comrade there can go at him with a knife and slit him neck to nuts. to quote City Slickers. And the guy who's about to cut him up just gets so angry. He's just like, "What the fuck? What are you doing?" And Cillian Murphy takes this as an opportunity to get out of there. And he escapes up over the wall, and they're like, "We're fucked." And like, no. He's on the other side of the wall. He's as good as dead. He's not going to come back. This is fine.
Clearly, you've never seen a Steven Seagal movie or a
Yeah.
Rambo movie for that matter.
So yeah, now we get back to the mansion, and it is getting very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Naomie Harris and Hannah are both asked to disrobe and put on nice dresses.
Yeah.
We get a really uncomfortable scene where they're stripping Naomie Harris, and she, like, very wisely grabs one of them by the head and just, like, plants one on his lips and looks him dead in the eyes and says, like, "I need to be alone with Hannah for a minute. Like, if you want us to put on these dresses, I need to be alone for a minute." And this is her bargaining chip, basically.
Yeah.
Like, this is a soldier who's probably been deprived of a woman's touch for a very long time. She manages to get what she asked for. Takes a minute of convincing.
Yeah.
And her grand plan, and it's all she's got in this situation, is to dump as many pills into Hannah as possible.
Yeah.
Hannah actually asks, like, "Are you trying to kill me?"
No, and she's like, "Nope."
And she says, "No, I'm trying to make you not care."
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I really liked her characters. Like in crunch time, she really does care. Like she's like, "I don't care about the people; they're dead weight." But in this moment, she gets like that shred of humanity back for herself. She's like, "No, I gotta like it. You're not gonna care what happens." And
Yeah.
that's why I really liked her character. Was good. She was a badass this whole time, but this was a really good scene.
No, I was really impressed with that scene. I did think that she was still trying to kill her anyway. Like,
she may have been, but the guards come wise to what she's doing. They just barge in out of nowhere and just "We see what the fuck you're doing!" Like slaps the pills out of there. Luckily, Hannah is able to ingest whatever was given to her,
and the air raid siren goes off, and so all the soldiers, their attention is diverted away from them.
Yeah.
So this is kind of weird. Christopher Eccleston and this one fucking guy that very clearly like tried to cut his own hair and did a horrible job of it.
Oh yeah,
because it's like patchy and shit.
Yeah,
like with scissors, not with clippers, or probably a combat knife. They take off in like a Jeep or a Hummer or something, and they head out to the checkpoint.
Yeah,
in response to the air raid siren.
Yeah, Cillian Murphy is creating a distraction. He's cranking the air raid siren. Like, what the fuck is that? Two dudes know what it is. The other guys are like, what the fuck is that? Like, what's happening?
But it's just kind of weird seeing like the CO and mangy guy. It's like, why wouldn't you send like the grunts to go take care of that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they don't know what's going on. They think that
True.
Cillian Murphy's dead, so they're like, "What the fuck is happening? Like, this could be a big deal." So
it's raining.
Yeah, it's raining. It's nighttime now. Cillian Murphy
at the checkpoint. Cillian Murphy kills the fuck out of Mange Man.
I forgot about this. This was really good.
He Rambos him.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if like maybe a different script writer came on board for the finale of this movie, but yeah, Cillian Murphy suddenly turns into Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
and starts snapping necks and stuff. Then again, we don't actually know anything about him as a person prior to the infection.
I don't think that he has any training. I
mean, his reaction to violence, and he's actually questioned, like, have you killed anyone? And his only response is, I've killed a boy.
Okay.
So I guess we can't pretend that he's like a secret military badass or something. He just magically becomes a badass for the last part of this film. But yeah, he kills Mange Man, and Christopher Eccleston tries to drive off, but the Jeep, he also like scuttles the Jeep basically. And I guess the two of them hoof it back to the camp, independent of each other.
Yeah.
But now we have a situation where Naomie Harris and Hannah are in dresses. It's a dark and stormy night with a rainstorm going on. And Christopher Eccleston and Cillian Murphy, Jim is his character's name, by the way. They're hoofing it back to the camp, and Cillian Murphy has a plan. So remember that zombie who was chained up in the middle of the courtyard?
Mm-hmm.
He uses a rifle that he jacked from Mange Man to shoot the chain off of him.
Yeah.
So now we have a zombie in the middle of the mansion just running around.
Well, this was a almost smart move. It's a good way to have a distraction while he tries to get the girls, but he also lets the zombie loose near the house where the girls are.
Yeah,
so,
and you have no way of knowing what it's going to do and who it's going to go for.
Yeah, they don't have any weapons, so yeah.
I mean, it's a dice roll, but
it's a dice roll.
I guess it's what you got to do.
It's a movie. Let's see.
By
how
the
it
way,
turns
he's
out.
shirtless in the rain.
Yeah,
I'd be so miserable.
I forget why he takes off his shirt.
He loses it when he vaults over the wall.
Okay,
there's chain
barbed wire. Yeah,
it yanks it off of him.
So yeah, now he's kind of the zombies loose. A couple guys scatter, and he's kind of working his way through the mansion, trying to get to the girls. I think they separate Naomie Harris and the girl, if I'm not mistaken, or
Yep.
they, yeah. I like the kitchen scene, the kitchen zombie scene. I didn't know how you felt about that.
It was effective. All the zombie action in this movie is actually a little weird because we're calling them zombies, but they're not.
No.
They really are not in any sense. As far as we can tell, they don't eat people.
No.
They just seem to seek out other organisms that are not infected and attempt to spread the infection.
Mm-hmm.
The boy, when before Cillian Murphy kills him, says "I hate you," like in clear language,
Mm-hmm.
and the virus is called rage, so we can assume that it makes you like uncontrollably angry or something.
Mm-hmm.
But the behavior of these infected people is difficult to pin down because their objective seems kind of weird. It seems kind of hazy, and the violence that they bring onto people is we never actually really see it.
Mm-hmm.
They basically tackle people, puke on them, and then just leave.
Yeah.
So again, it seems like the objective is just to spread the infection, not so much to maim and kill or devour, but just get on someone, bite them, or get blood on them.
Yeah.
So the violence in this movie, it's a pretty violent movie, but very little of it is from like attacks from infected people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this one poor fella gets pinned down to a table by two infected people, and I think like they break his arm when they're leaning on him. It doesn't seem to be intentional, but yeah, he gets puked on, and now we have many infected people, and one of them's like hiding in a cupboard, watching all this happen, and it's very much a Corporal Upham moment from Private Ryan with
Upham?
the the knife attack. Where it's
Oh,
just I should probably do something. Oh, I didn't do anything.
That's one of the roughest movie deaths ever.
Yeah, no
Poor Adam
joke.
Goldberg. Seriously. So yeah, now they've split up Naomie Harris and the Michael Shannon hybrid that you were talking about. He's like, I'm gonna make my move now because I'm like, we might be dying now. And he's like, I'm gonna lock this in. And Hannah's with another guy, and I like this scene. Hannah's kind of loopy now. That whatever Naomie Harris gave her is kicked in, and she starts talking shit to the dude. She's like, "You're gonna die. Like this was gonna happen. Like you're gonna die." And she can pick up on that he's super scared. And what happens is does he get attacked? She hides behind a mirror, which I thought was kind of neat.
Yeah, that happens a moment later. Kind of reminded me of Jurassic Park a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when she and Naomie Harris are being watched by this one soldier, I think it's the cook.
Mm-hmm.
So like even from a visual standpoint, this man's facial makeup tells you he's an idiot. And yeah, she's taunting him, and if I remember right, we get a trailer shot here. I remember the marketing for this movie, and there's a trailer shot where it's a zombie looking through a window and making kind of a booga booga face,
Yeah.
And we get that moment where the zombie from the courtyard, Mailer, smashes in through the window, because apparently British people like to jump through windows.
Love it.
And tackles this poor sap. And Naomie Harris and Hannah, they get split up. And yeah, we get this moment where one of the infected soldiers is looking for Hannah. And she's hiding behind this like 6
Really
foot tall
tall
mirror. It's like an antique mirror. And she knows it's looking her way, but it sees its reflection, and it's just really agitated and like snarling and making noises and stuff, and it starts to creep up on her, but eventually it runs off. But it's just a nice tense moment.
Yeah.
And it needs to be said, like the combination of the rain and the storm and the lightning and stuff, this feels like a very traditional horror movie now.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's in a fucking mansion, and there's two ladies in like fancy dresses and like being chased around by monsters in a shadowy, lightning lit environment. It's very atmospheric. But yeah, while Naomie Harris is grappling with Bunny, Mitchell, Cillian Murphy crashes in, and he like Batman's his way into the room. He comes down from the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
So he
Your
tries to
entrance
pull
was good.
Batman.
His was better.
The way I describe this is Jim Blade Runner's Mitchell.
Yeah.
He thumbs him in the eyes. But before that, he's bashing Mitchell's head against a brick wall. It's pretty juicy, by the way. There's a lot of blood spraying around. And this illustrates, like, this plants an image in Naomie Harris's mind, who's observing all this, that is Jim infected, because his behavior is not the Jim we've seen before. Somehow he turned into John Rambo, and he's insanely violent and malicious at this point. So she, like, through her physical acting, we can tell that she's thinking like, oh shit, Jim's infected. So we get this moment where they're standing opposite each other, and he's still in the shadows, and she finds her handy dandy machete that seems to always be around whenever she needs it.
Yeah.
And she makes a move at him, and she doesn't get him. She stops short of swinging it at him, and as it so happens, no, he's not infected, and they make out.
Yeah.
But then Hannah ruins the fucking moment.
Yeah. She comes in and starts hitting him or something.
She hits him with like a jar.
Yeah.
It's like a glass jar.
Yeah. She's like, Hannah, he's not infected. And she's loopy from whatever pills she got. And,
he even says, I was kissing her.
Yeah. So they pretty much just cut out of here.
Yeah, they run straight through the cab, like right out into the storm.
Oh, and Doctor Who is in there. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Doctor Who is just sitting there waiting, and he's just like, you just wasted all my guys. And he shoots Cillian Murphy. We're like, motherfucker! Are you kidding me? You had a moment. You had a moment where you could redeem yourself. He could have played like I didn't want them to gang up on me and kill me. But no, he shoots him, and I think Hannah's in the car already. Like, she had gone around and gotten in the front seat.
I think they all pile into the car, and when Cillian Murphy's trying to get in the back seat, there he is, Doctor Who. And he says, you killed my boys.
You killed my boys. And then, and then she like drives the car, like reverses it straight back into the house so that the zombie comes in, grabs him out, and then they drive off.
Yeah.
With everybody in. Cut to, so the I don't know if it's a filter or what was with the image of this movie, like the actual image quality of the movie.
That would be a side effect of shot on digital.
Okay.
I noticed especially, I don't know if they use different camera rigs. Some of the attack sequences in this movie, like, so the more kinetic camera work, the more frantic scenes looked even grainier than the rest of it. I would not be surprised if they used, like, quote unquote weaker cameras for those sequences. But yeah, most of it was shot on digital, and it has kind of a bleh look to it. I did see in the notes, though, that the closing sequence of the film was shot on 35mm, and it does look clear, and there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny because they come to a gate when they're escaping the camp, and Cillian Murphy just tells Hannah, "Gun it." Like, there's nowhere else to go anyway. Just do it. And we get a freeze frame. We get a freeze frame transition of Naomie Harris and Cillian Murphy being hurled in their seat, because neither of them have seatbelts on, by the way.
Yeah, that was stupid.
And then we get a freeze frame of them going, "Ah!" when they hit the gate. And then it says 28 days later again. So it's the same title card on black. And then Cillian Murphy wakes up in a very nice looking bed.
Yeah, and
this is where the 35 millimeter comes into play. So the image quality in this last sequence is
much better.
A lot clearer.
And I think it's on purpose too.
No,
like
it has
said.
a reason.
Yeah. He wakes up and he's like, "Oh no, not the curtains!" And he wakes up. He goes downstairs. They're in a nice little house. It's really brightly lit. It looks nice. And Naomie Harris is sewing. Mm-hmm. She's down in the basement sewing, and they run outside. You can see Hannah, Cillian Murphy, Naomie Harris. They're all together. They run outside, and I think we hear a noise in the distance, and I think it's a helicopter. And
no, it's a jet.
A jet. They're taking out some kind of cloth. And it's basically a distress signal. Like, what does it say? Is it say help or hello?
It says hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
There's your hello. There's the hello. But yeah, basically they get saved by the guy. So there's a few lessons to take from this movie. One, don't trust a guy the size of Brendan Gleeson, no matter how friendly he is. That was misdirection in this movie. This movie was, you were expecting him to be a piece of shit. No, he's actually good, but be on your guard. It's good that you
just always keep one eye open around him.
Big cities, stay out of them if you can. If you're in one, get out of it. Don't trust a radio transmission. Trust a jet. Because if a jet has made it, 56 days into a zombie apocalypse, chances are that the person in the pilot seat is a part of a good military outfit.
Yeah, I mean, the fuel and maintenance for a jet,
yeah,
it's not something you take off lightly. It's not something you just flippantly just decide to hop into and take for a spin. You have to have a place to return to and refuel and stuff.
And if you are going to join military dudes, make sure that you outnumber them. If you have a group of 3, I'd say go with 3 to 1. If it's 3 of you and 1 of them, that's good.
Yeah, just keep that. Maybe don't be afraid to speak up if someone offers you a drink and then they pour you a drink from the bottle that you previously owned. Like,
yeah.
It's like, I should be offering you a drink, but whatever.
If you got sardines and some cans of peas from the store, and then that's what you're having for dinner after somebody else takes you in, maybe throw up some red flags there.
So the movie ends with the jet passing overhead, and we get a perspective shot, and you can assume that the jet saw the hello message because it's quite big and it's huge. It's in white letters on green grass. If you're paying attention at all, you would see that.
Yeah.
And then Naomie Harris looks back and says, "Do you think they saw us this time?" And then pop music plays over the credits. Pretty cool song actually, but it has that early 2000s vibe to it for sure.
Big time.
I wanted to ask you because I haven't done my research, but I remember my friend telling me if I remember right, there's like alternate endings to this movie.
It's possible. I'm not entirely sure. I actually typically don't like a happy ending when it comes to these kinds of movies. That's just my preference. I like them like having to go through all that struggle and like to get out only to find that they're fucked anyway. So,
well, I mean, a story like this about a contagion, generally it's very difficult to have a happy ending. Mm-hmm. The one thing that can be said though, and we didn't mention this, is that at the lead up to the jet reaching them does show a couple of emaciated zombies like laying on the ground looking immobile because they're probably starving. Mm-hmm. So that does hint at the possibility that the infection burned itself out in some fashion. Gotcha. I just pulled up the Wikipedia, and apparently there are many alternative endings to this film.
Interesting.
Jim dies at the hospital. In this ending, after Jim is shot, Selena is Naomie Harris's character's name, by the way, and Hannah rush him to a deserted hospital. I guess he dies there. There's a hospital dream sequence where he dies at the hospital. There's a hint at them being rescued, but Jim is dead. So Hannah and Naomie Harris make it out. And then radical alternative ending. It was not filmed. Oh, wow. I'll let you look that up on your own. But anyway, apparently there were many alternate endings to this movie. I do remember my friend telling me that a long time ago.
I would prefer all of them die at the end or they all make it. And, I'd like this movie enough that I'm fine with the happy... make a happy ending.
Scooby-Doo ending.
Scooby-Doo ending. Yeah, I'm fine with it in this movie because the movie was good. And, I was proud of Cillian Murphy because he grew out of being kind of a puss. He got to it. He's a hero. Hannah definitely grows. She's been through some shit. But yeah, what did you think overall?
I thought it was enjoyable. I seriously doubt I'd ever go back to it because it does feel dated, and it's I don't know. Zombie movies are difficult for me because they are so heavily based in tropes. It's like so much of it felt familiar, and that may just be a consequence of so much of happening since 2002 or 3.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of zombie movies since then, and they all kind of bleed together at some point in some fashion. There's a Japanese zombie movie. It's based on a manga, and as far as I understand, the movie diverges from it pretty strongly.
Train to Busan?
No, that's Korean.
Okay.
It's called I Am a Hero, and I told you about it before, but there were certain aspects of it that reminded me of that. I Am a Hero came out in 2016, though. Worth a watch, though. It's an enjoyable movie. I can't compare it to the manga because I've never touched it, but it's solid, and it has that kind of a lonely feel to it, where it's it takes place in a city for the most part, but most of the scenes are quiet and lonely except when things get ramped up.
I think contemporary, for a serious zombie movie, because I love Shaun of the Dead and Zombieland, I think as far as a serious zombie movie goes, this was probably the best one, in my opinion.
Yeah,
that's why
I kind of dumped zombie movies. We kind of broke up around the time of the Dawn of the Dead remake, because zombies became overplayed in my mind. I just kind of got tired of it. I know The Walking Dead was insanely popular for a while internationally. Also, even in Japan, Walking Dead is known and beloved. Wow. I've never touched it, so I can't speak to the quality of it. But
I watched the first season, and you can have it. Everyone's like, you gotta go, you gotta keep going, you gotta keep watching it, and even people commenting on the newer episodes. I remember there was a time they're like, yeah, just fuck it.
It's my understanding that the first season was Frank Darabont, who does a lot of Stephen King adaptations. He's a very good director. The Mist was also him, by the way.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, that's a good one. You might like it.
Is that Tommy Jane?
Yeah, Tommy Jane.
I know how it ends. It got spoiled for me.
Oh,
but I would watch it.
That sucks because I really enjoyed that movie. But the first season of Walking Dead, I guess, was Frank Darabont's baby. But then he got booted off the project or something, and it mutated into something else entirely that either people think is much, much better or much, much worse.
Well, I think it also, the second season was around the height of Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was really picking up, and I think it kind of turned into that, where we have to start killing off characters to keep it interesting, introduce new characters, stuff like that.
Well, it needs to be said though that I remember reading some quotes from the author of the comic that The Walking Dead's based off of, that he actually admitted that he felt kind of shitty. That's man, the show did some stuff that I wish I had done, that I wish I had done.
Yeah.
It's wow, that's high praise coming from somebody whose work is being adapted by another group of people. But yeah, I mean, this was a fun movie, but like I said, I think too much time has passed. Like if I had seen it when it was new, it probably would have been like new, fresh, amazing. Like new print, little, yellow, different. But for me, it's I don't know. It's just a footnote. For now,
I still think it holds up. I probably won't rewatch it for.
I was happy to see Brendan Gleeson. I'll say that much. But as soon as he left, I was like, oh man, now I just don't care. It's like I want this to be over fast.
One way or another, you were going to get some Brendan Gleeson this week, so
it's not entirely a wasted effort.
No. All right, well that's about it.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us as we caught up on cinema.
Yes.
Tune in next time.